Welcome everybody to this week's live Q&A. My name is Vanya Fatidis and I'm the founder of Peaceful Eating, where I help people all around the world let go of all the food rules, come to a place of peace in and with their own bodies so that they can invest their time, energy and money in the things that really matter to them. Get on with their lives. So each week I host a Q&A. And if you'd like to submit a question, you may do so on any of the social media or via my website. And I will attempt to answer as many questions as I can within half an hour. Excuse me, I need to have a sip of something. So what I want you to know is that these questions arrive via the different channels. I typically don't know anything about the people um, who are sending me the questions. So this is really general. I'm taking each question at face value and I'm responding in the way that I think might be most helpful for the most people, picking up whatever I can. So it's not a perfect system, but here we go. So let me get to the first question because I have quite a few today. And here goes the first question. I feel as if I've just given up. I'm still not dieting, but feel as if I need to eat more nutritious food, but can't be bothered. I'm eating what I want, but never really got with the whole checking in with myself thing. When I want food, I want it now. I'm not happy with the way I look or the way I feel. Out walking yesterday, I struggled in the heat, which I feel is down to being in a bigger body. I came back with blisters on my feet, which will make it difficult to go walking for the next few days. Walking is the only exercise I enjoy. How do I move on from not dieting to truly eating intuitively? Or how do I become more mindful? It's my kombucha that's making me do that. Okay, so what I want to say, there's quite a lot in that, and I'm going to focus on one thing, which is really your question about how do I move on from not dieting to eating more intuitively. And um, what I want to say is that what often happens is that um, when we're not, there's often a period of time for people who stop dieting that is not dieting, but also not tuned into themselves. So dieting really takes its toll. All that hypervigilance on what, when, and how much we're going to eat, and all that sort of very focused energy on the weight loss pursuit, it really takes its toll on us. And so when we move into mindful eating or intuitive eating, we actually still need to have an awareness on ourselves, not so much about what we're eating, how much we're eating, but more about how we're doing, how we're feeling, how something makes us feel when we eat it, how satisfied we are, how hungry we are, how if we're getting full, how it makes us feel afterwards, and so on. And so what happens often for people after they've decided, they realize that dieting is just a useless pursuit. In fact, it's harming us. They become, they kind of go into a period of where they need really a reprieve from all of that hyper focus. And so what they can tend to do is check out. Also, as a counter to dieting often is there doesn't seem to be a middle way. It's like you're either dieting or you're binging or just kind of checked out. Maybe not binging, but just checked out, not aware, not checking in with oneself. And so you might be in this kind of checked out place. What you say is, I never got with this checking in with yourself thing. And that's what's making me wonder about that perhaps you've kind of gone into this place of a kind of blankness around engagement with your own self, your own body, and all of that. So how do you, um, what you say is, how do I move on? Okay, so what I think is really, really, really important, a foundational thing, is to really get to grips with your reasons. What are your motivations? What are your reasons for wanting to eat intuitively or to become more mindful? What is it about those things that has you want to be able to do them? What are your deepest motivations? You see, what's happened in the past is weight loss has been your motivation. And what you've seen, and I hope what you've learned, is that actually pursuing weight loss is counterproductive. It disengages us with our own bodies. It separates us from our own experience and our own pleasure and enjoyment with food. It separates us from our connection with our own bodies. So, if your motivation is no longer weight loss, what will your motivation be? So, when I'm working one to one with clients and actually in my course as well, we usually will spend the beginning bit exploring what is it that you want. So, you want to eat intuitively, you want to be more mindful, and why? So what is it about that? What is that going to give you? So, I'll give you an example. So I'll give you an example for me because I just did a little mental exercise with this and I thought to myself, okay, so I want to eat intuitively because, well, because I want to listen to my body. Well, why do I want to listen to my body? Well, I want to listen to my body because listening to my body will help me be in greater partnership with my body. Hmm. Well, why would I want to be in greater partnership with my body? Well, my body is my really it's my vehicle through life, right? And partnership with it will lend itself to greater fluidity. So, what is it about fluidity that I want? Why do I want that fluidity? Well, I want it because it facilitates greater ease and peace. And it's when I'm experiencing that, that's when I feel most at home in myself, with myself, in my life. So it's not just about my body, it's about my experience of life and my journey with intuitive eating. And I can say this that this has been the case for me because I'm now looking back on it for myself. Intuitive eating and the process of that and mindfulness have been an incredible learning journey for me in terms of meeting my needs, becoming more attuned to myself and my own needs in my life, and just having a more balanced, um, peaceful experience in life, right? And that might not have been my original purpose. My purpose was just to stop binging really and stop fighting with my own body, but over time, what I realize as I look back is that it's been a huge learning journey for me, which is really about my whole life, not just about how much, what, when, and how much I'm eating and why I'm eating and all of that. It's huge. It's huge and it's deep. So I'd encourage you to really explore your own motivations for becoming an intuitive eater and becoming more mindful. So use those questions. Try and use the because. So I want that because, and I want that because, and see if you can just deepen and deepen and deepen until you get to a place that really just feels like it's resonant for you. Sort of hits the nail on the head. And for me, it's about ease and peace and being at home in my own body and in my life. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to look at my next bit of notes. So the other thing I want to say to you is that intuitive and mindful eating actually require you to get the whole checking in with yourself thing. Um, and that does require effort, right? And it does require a commitment. And it also will probably require, well, I can guarantee you it will require you to be a bit uncomfortable sometimes because it's not always comfortable to be checked in with ourselves because there are all sorts of feelings and thoughts that go on that might not be very comfortable. So, what we need to build is that willingness and the capacity to be with the discomfort that might arise. It's not always uncomfortable. A lot of the time, it's really enjoyable and pleasant and exciting, and you learn so much and you re experience pleasure in food. So, that's all wonderful. So I hope that that gives you some food for thought, should we say, and helps you get on on the road to that. And please let me know how that goes because I'm here and happy to talk you through the next step. Perhaps try that and see how it goes. Oh yes. So what I wanted to say as well is that just in terms of the practicalities about um, checking in with yourself because when we're in a habit about being checked out, we need something to support us to check in. And so you could have some reminders for you, post-it notes, or sometimes I say, put something really out of place at the place where you'd normally eat, at your kitchen table or wherever it is that you'd normally eat. Put something really out of place that wouldn't be there that could help trigger your memory that, oh yeah, that's here to remind me to check in. You could put a reminder on your phone. There are all sorts of ways that you could do that. And in terms of, I don't know how much you've really explored or learned about intuitive eating, but there's a really great intuitive eating workbook that is out, and the latest edition of the intuitive eating book is going to be published any day now. It's probably out already. I haven't got mine yet on order, but I will do so soon. But I would go for the latest edition of the Intuitive Eating book. And the workbook is very up to date and a great starter. It's quite easy to work with. So those are some options for you. All right, let me look at the next question. All right. I've been exercising every day over the last 2 months. It has greatly improved my mood and my overall fitness. Yet I'm struggling to keep off the scales and the trap of feeling demotivated and thinking, what's the point with no weight loss, despite feeling so much better in myself? Okay, so I mean, look, what typically happens, and I know you're not speaking to this, but just as a general thing, what typically happens for people is that when we're dieting, we're also exercising because we learn diet and exercise, right? Those calories in, calories out little mantra that we have internalized. And so exercise can be it's tied in to the fantasy, the desire for, shall we say, weight loss. And maybe in the past people have had experience with that, but it tends to get harder and harder, and people tend to put the weight back on, etc. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that exercise has been tied to weight loss, and so you need to find a different motivation. Just as I was responding to the first person, that first question, it's around what is your motivation. So the past motivation, and it looks like currently your motivation still is weight loss. And but what you're finding is that when you're not losing weight, you're becoming demotivated to do the exercise. So what you really need is to motivate yourself in a different way. And you've already named some very real benefits that you're experiencing: improved mood, greater fitness, and feeling better in yourself in general. Those are huge benefits. So perhaps you need to do that same exercise that I have just taught you really. Um, for exercise. So I want to move my body, or I want to exercise. I like move my body. I want to move my body because I want to improve my mood. I want to improve my fitness. I want to feel better in myself. And I want to improve my mood because what is it about improving your mood that that matters to you? I want to improve my mood because It's much nice experience to have a more uplifted mood than it is not to, right? That doesn't mean you'll always have a great mood when you exercise, but there are definitely known benefits to moving our bodies and the correlation with improved mood. So try and explore for yourself what is underneath that. Try and go deeper and deeper. And um, I want to increase my fitness because I want to feel stronger, and I want to feel stronger because I want to, do whatever with my children or my family. I want to be able to go on hikes with them. What is it about that that matters to you? It brings me joy. It's a really fun family activity. We get so much out of it. I want to be able to keep up with that. I want to, you know, one of my old school friends has just become a grandmother. And so now I'm thinking, gosh, that's probably on the horizon for me sometime, and probably not for a while, but we'll see. You never know. But what I want in the future is to be able to play with my grandchildren, run around with them, get on the floor with them, etc. So really try and go down the layers and connect with what really matters to you about that. For me, it's ultimately about peace. It's about ease. It's about uh, being at home in myself. It's about connection. Um, it's about living life as well as I possibly can because I don't think there's going to be another round. I don't know what your beliefs are, but those are mine. So, also, what I would do is, not weigh yourself. Can you just not weigh yourself? Can you put that scale away, put it in a cupboard, put it in a box, put it in the boot of your car, um, put it in the loft, just put it out of sight somewhere so that you're not constantly getting on it, or preferably not getting on it at all, because it's just not a sustainable motivation. Okay, I hope that helps. Let's get on to the next question. Now that I've given myself freedom to eat what I like, when I like, I've found that I'm now overeating or saying to myself, it's okay because I've had a hard day and I recognize that I'm emotionally eating. How do I find the balance as I've put on a bit of weight and now that's triggering me to want to lose weight? Okay, so the first thing is yay you on giving yourself permission to eat what you want, and yay you for not shaming yourself and giving yourself a hard time for when you're eating outside of hunger. Look, it's a very normal thing to do to eat outside of hunger, and the less we shame ourselves and the less we make ourselves feel bad about it, um, the less we will try to compensate for that, and then the less we will go down that negative spiral or that roller coaster ride, of restriction and binging. So good for you on those two fronts. Really, it's really is deserving of pride and congratulation because it's not an easy thing to do. So I just don't want that to go without being said. However, using your worries about weight gain to motivate your desire to find balance is going to be counterproductive. It's not going to go well for you. So, when weight loss, as I've said before, is our motivation, what it fuels is a disconnection from our own bodies. We become hypervigilant about what, when, and how much we're eating, and we withdraw that permission to eat what we want, and then that sends us on that roller coaster ride. So, you need to have um, a different motivation for finding balance, right? So um, I would suggest you do that very same exercise as I've mentioned for the first two people, which is, I want to cultivate balance because what is it about cultivating balance that is juicy for you, that really resonates for you, that matters to you, that's really important to you? What is it about that that matters to you? I would do that same thing with that, because really, the more that you are able to listen to your own body and check in with yourself and check in with your own needs, right? It might not just be about food. Ultimately, if we're eating for reasons other than, you know, pure pleasure sometimes, and really because we need the fuel to eat, um, usually there's some need there that isn't being met. So actually checking in with ourselves and checking in with our needs actually leads to balance. So in a way, you cultivate that balance without a lot of effort. It's really just with a consistent checking in with yourself. Now, there's something else I wanted to say, which was perhaps the weight gain that you're noticing isn't because you are eating too much or overeating or emotionally eating. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm just saying it might not be. What we are trained to believe is that putting on weight is a sign of something being wrong. We're doing something wrong. We're not attuned enough to our bodies. But actually, when we're recovering from dieting, often weight gain is needed. I don't know anything about you. I don't know what your history is. If you've had very strong restrictive eating patterns, you might really need to gain weight. And it might be that where your body is going to be happiest, where your body is going to be happiest, where your body is going to be calmest, maybe is at a weight that you feel emotionally uncomfortable with. And that's something that requires some unpacking and some exploration. Because yeah, our culture doesn't really like that. And we've internalized a lot of fat phobia. So that might require some unpacking for you, is to become emotionally more comfortable at the weight that your body is comfortable and feels safe at. So I hope that that is helpful. Okay, for any of you watching, if you have supplementary questions, by all means ask. If I'm not hitting the nail on the head, set me straight. Let me know. All right, here is the last question of today. Oh, no, two more questions. Oops, got 5 minutes. I'm having pretty much constant thoughts that my body should be smaller and a different shape. How do I deal with that? Okay, the first thing is that think about it this way. The first thought that we usually have, the first kind of automatic thought that we have is usually a conditioned thought. It's a thought that we've learned from somewhere. It's a thought we've internalized from somewhere or someone. And it's not something we can do very much about. We can't really control the thoughts that just pop up into our minds. The only power we have is when we become aware of the thought. So it sounds like you have that awareness of your thoughts. So great. So Rick Hansen, I don't know if you've ever come across him. He's one of my, certainly I've learned so much from him. He says, and I'm sure he got it from somewhere else, but this is where I heard it. What we resist persists. So don't resist those thoughts. As they come up, just say, oh, yeah, there's one of those body shaming thoughts. That's one of those thoughts about my body needing to be smaller. Just name it for what it is. Then connect with what really matters to you. What matters to you beyond anything to do with your size? If you knew for a certainty that the world was going to end tomorrow, what would be most important to you? We take so much for granted in this world and, with our lives, that we forget about these things, that what really matters to you. connect with that and take an action that aligns with that thing that really matters to you. And in that moment, it might be one thing, and in another moment, it might be something else. That's okay. Just go with the flow, whatever it is, and take an action that aligns with that thing that you're valuing in that moment beyond your body, because it's acting in alignment with values that is going to move us in a different direction from that old habitual pattern. So we're always training our brains, always. The question is, are you intentionally training your brain? Because if you are letting these thoughts perpetuate, 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 and you're not stepping in, then that's what you're training your brain to do, to believe, to think, right? So it's up to you to decide how you're going to train your brain. And that's one thing you do. You notice the thoughts, you name the thoughts or label the thoughts. That gives you a bit of distance. It reminds you that you're not your thoughts, just an automatic thought that's arising. So it's like pop, automatic thoughts, a bit like a stuck record. You could say that to yourself. Stuck record about body shame. Then, whoops, connect with what really matters with you to you and take an action. Now, an action could also be a thought, and it's really powerful if you think it out loud to yourself. You might say to yourself, all bodies deserve um, dignity and respect. All bodies deserve dignity and respect. If that's something that you value, say it. You could then do something like give yourself a bit of a stroke. You could apologize to that part of your body. Oops, my notes are falling down. You could give that part of your body or your whole of your body just a gentle touch, something that's affirming, that's kind, that's compassionate. And that's how you will change your brain. All right, last question, 1 minute. I'm struggling with how to motivate myself from a place of self love rather than I hate my body. So you're not alone. In fact, all of you, who've sent me in questions know that I promise you, all of these questions and that you're sending in are not new to me, and you're not alone. This is a very common experience, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we live in such a screwed up culture that separates us from our unique and wondrous selves and bodies. So what I want to say to you is that you can't force love. You can't. You can't make yourself come from a place of self love if that's not where you are. But all is not hopeless. There are there are things that you can do. So the one thing I would say, and this seems to be a thread from all of the questions today, is what do you value? It sounds like you do value love. And or do you value hate? Is that a value for you? And there's no right or wrong, by the way. It's just let's just be honest about it. And if hate is not a value for you, then why are you acting from it? If love is a value for you, then you can work towards acting from love. But as I say that, there's so much this, love and self-love is really quite loaded, can be quite loaded and full of kind of expectations. So you might want to step away from that and not put so much pressure on yourself. And instead, perhaps you might ask yourself about what about acting out of respect? What about just acting out of neutrality? What about being coming from a place of neutrality? But maybe the value behind that is respect. So if you value respect, if you value dignity, um, if you value kindness, that might be easier than coming from self love. Let me see if I had something else. Oh, yes. So I wrote a blog which you might like to go and check out on my website, which is called um, How to Create a Great Relationship with Your Body. And I think it's quite a cool blog. I think it's worth checking out, all of you who are struggling with your bodies. And in it, there is a free download for a peace treaty with my body. So what I recommend you do is go and download that and print it out and read through it, but actually make it your own. Don't necessarily take my word for it. Rewrite your own. You could use that as a guide. But maybe it will fit for you. I don't know. But start to create something that has your intention behind it, that fits for you, that resonates for you, and see how that goes. At the end of the day, just be kind. And when you're not being kind, remember and then be kind. You know, we're not perfect human beings. We're fumbling along like everybody else. So I hope that that was helpful. And I look forward to getting more questions to answer next week. I really find it quite engaging and fun to do this. I don't know how to check for questions. So I need to figure this out one of these days, and I will. But for now, I wish you well. I hope everyone's doing well, taking care of themselves, doing the best you can to look after yourself and those around you in these rather odd times that we are living in right now. And the last thing I want to say is if you're engaged by this, then and you've learned something from it, please do go to my website. I've got so much free information on there. You can put in the search bar more or less any question you have about body image or relationship with food, and you will probably get several blogs that I've done or videos on those topics. So it's www.peacefuleating.co.uk. You can go to blogs, you can go to the Q&A thread to submit a question, you can /subscribe to get my free guide to peaceful eating, which really lays things out in a very easy to digest format. It's really not long, take you 20 minutes to read, and it will set you on the path. So take care, go well, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.